this is the third album in the Teramaze catalogue, her Halo. I think they've released 4 albums. I'm not too sure on that, but her Halo is definitely before Are We Soldiers, which I have just gone and recently reviewed. So this is the album just before that, and it's got a different vocalist this time round. But yeah, bit of story about her Halo. It's been massively well received by audience and critics alike. Everyone just says this album is just absolutely incredible, an absolute gem in the rough. It is just outstanding. You only have 8 tracks, but the album does last 56 minutes, so it's relatively long. But yeah, critics adore it. Fans adore this thing, as in adore, as in really adore. It's absolutely fantastic. It's groundbreaking. It's outstanding. It's said to be progressive metal again, and like one of the great progressive metal albums. It's a gem of progressive metal. It's, a new band doing progressive metal. It is, now the pinnacle of progressive metal, like Dream Theater was many years ago. But when I went in to hear this album, my thought was along the lines of, really? You think it's that great? That was the first impression I got when I ran through this album. I didn't actually look at the reviews first. I just went into the album. I just thought, ugh. And then when I looked at all the kind of reception it got, because I thought this album mustn't have done well. And then I saw it did. So, I wasn't really overly impressed off the bat. I was quite disappointed. And as far as progressive metal, like I've proper listened to Are We Soldiers, I've reviewed that, and I wouldn't really class that as progressive metal. It just isn't. It's a bit straightforward to be progressive metal. It has progressive elements to it, but there's an outright progressive metal album like Darkwater's Human. They're not in the same genre, really. Darkwater Human is extraordinarily different and overly complex compared to Are We Soldiers. So, is her Halo more on the progressive metal side than Are We Soldiers? Now that I've listened to it more, have I now come to actually understand what this album is and what it has to actually offer? So that's going to have to be what we get into. Has my opinion overly changed? So let's get into the first track, which is An Ordinary Dream. So An Ordinary Dream. This track has been said pretty much consensually by fans and critics alike as the best track on this album, and by best, like absolutely amazing diss track. It's 12 minutes 49 seconds, so it's nearly 13 minutes long, this track. So off the bat you gotta be thinking there's gotta have to be so much going on in this song. Lots of variation, lots of things going on, and just something amazingly grand. And that is why people like it. The critics and fans do say that this song is like a checklist, and it's just checking absolutely everything off. Just going through everything. And you're saying, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that, and we've done that. Everyone just says this track is huge, epic, powerful, masterfully well created and done. Goes so many places, absolutely thought-provoking, so mature and grand, it's just incredible. Now again, when I actually first listened to this album, I hated this track the most. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate, but at the end of this video, or at the end of part 2 maybe, if you stick with me at least, I think I can alter that mindset. Because I have listened to it a lot more, and that is the thing I want you to kind of leave on the back burner and just hold off until you get to the end. But let's get into the track. Starting out, there's nothing, it's just atmospheric noise, just building. And I like that. I don't like it usually when a band goes straight into it. I don't like an instrumental track that lasts 3 minutes, then it gets into the first track. I just feel like that's wasting my time and I jump into the first actual track. I don't like it when a band just starts off the bat with no build-up, no suspense, no excitement to get me all, pumped and ready. So I like this. I like the atmospheric noise. And then it gets to this one little bell chime, and then it's acoustic guitars. Like, this is starting soft, and it's just going to explode into what it is. It's just going to build me into this big epic thing. And that is what it does, and it's doing it well. You've got acoustic guitars going, and then you've got a bit of piano and everything. Then you've got heavier pianos later on, these really bass key tones. And then the band eventually just erupts and the guitars is going, and there's this electronic key thing that is just absolutely spiraling around everything. It's just so fast, it just sounds like it's swirling around. And then that's going on, and then there's other key tones going on, then there's the guitars going and the drums and everything. And then, a bit of, frills from the guitar near the end before it hits that first verse. So this whole intro is absolutely incredible. The problem I had off the bat, and others I would also say will have this problem, like the people who appreciate it, I get it, I get it now, but not everyone is going to appreciate this part that I'm going to go on about. I know I didn't off the bat, and I know of a friend who sticks with me in these YouTube videos and does album reviews himself and is an avid music fan. I also think he may struggle a little bit with just getting used to this. So what I mean is basically, the second the vocalist hits, it's very unexpected. You are not expecting it. You will never be able to expect what the singer is like, especially off of that intro, especially coming from Are We Soldiers. This is just so different. And because I've said that it's so different to Are We Soldiers and everything, and it's not what you expect, these are all good things because it's something new, it's something I haven't heard before. They're not retreading similar patterns. That is a great thing, and it doesn't sound like that other singer, so it's a whole new style of voice, which could be a good thing as well, different areas. And yeah, it's new, which is great, but it is a bit of a shock. It's a voice that you don't really put in with this style of music. So basically it goes all melodic, so that massive build and everything, then everything exploding, being epic, it just completely slows down, and it is basically just like acoustic and things, just with his voice, and everything's really bare, kinda. And the voice, it's not a high voice, it's actually quite a deep voice, which is kind of unusual with the music I've kind of been listening to. You're usually around the mid area to sort of high. But this guy's quite deep. He does sound a little like a kid. He doesn't sound like a full-grown butch man. He has this kind of kid voice that you'll probably find in one of these, really good pop artists. Not that I like pop. What I'm trying to mean is basically a pop band that actually has incredible vocals. So he sounds like he's out of a boy band, but not that like Justin Bieber style of thing, kind of a bit more operatic, and has a good roundness to his voice and everything. So just I can't sing, but that's kind of the style he does around that area. So he's quite deep and everything, and really kind of melodic and trying to be, operatic style of thing. And it's a shock. It was really shocking for me, and every time I get into this, I've listened to this album so many times, and every time it is just such a smack in the face to get used to. It's a lot easier than it was now, and I can appreciate it a little, but there are other problems with how this starts that start running through the whole album. So it's a good voice, not one of my things per se, but it is good. So I can give it credit for that. It is good. It's just personally, I'm not into it overly that much. It's not a voice I'd really pick and choose to listen to. And then musically, again, it's just everything goes so soft and it's melodic. There's nothing wrong with melody. Dark Water does it a lot, but with them, I kind of feel like there's a bit of excitement going on. Under him, I just feel it's not enough support. There's not enough really going on to really be that interesting, which people are really going to disagree with. And then going from there, some of the guitars come in and you got into your chorus and everything. Where everything comes together, the voice actually starts going a bit brighter and into more of a kind of natural area, which a lot of people are going to be more used to with vocalists. It is, if he were to sing like that off the bat, it would be something we're all going to be used to and accustomed to. The way he started, I don't think that many people are going to be used to that sort of thing. So the chorus is fine. Still nothing grand going on. It's just a bit more of an open sound and everything. Goes back into the verse, sort of the same, into the chorus, and then after the chorus, everything starts going heavier again. So you've got that intro, speed and intensity with this absolutely spinning, swirling, techno key stuff and things, and then him singing and everything. In a lot more of a higher kind of register and everything, which does show a good amount of range. So I like all of this. I kind of am enjoying this in the higher energy, and I do like the contrast from it being that build up to the big explosion to the soft stuff, a bit of heavy, soft, and then back to the heavy. It's progressive, this track. It is progressive metal, and I like all the layers to it and everything that's going on. I really do like it. As I say, it's just the only problem is just the voice is just a little difficult to get accustomed to, and I'm not really there yet. I'm better than I was, but I don't know if I ever will be. I just think it's one of these voices that just doesn't do it for me in that sort of style. The rest of his singing, completely fine. You have 3 solos in this album. So the first one is a shortish solo, got a bit of feel to it. I wouldn't say it's really the best on this track or even on the album, but it is really well done. It's a slow melodic kind of track, and then from there you've got heavy, chunky chords and everything. Just going to like this new kind of metal generation style of metal, taking more of the melody out, doing that dark brooding heavy chugging chords with heavy gain and things. And then the vocalist is using a lot more power. Then you've got some, interesting stuff going on with guitar leads and things. Then you've got, your kind of sound effects with the keys and stuff. So there's a lot going on, and then a lot more musicianship being put on in this mid-section, which is like the best part for me. The second solo is the best solo though, which just the second it starts, that one note is such an incredible note, and it is such an incredible solo. It is so melodic, and just that one note, just as it comes off this nice, gentle, atmospheric sound, and then just that one note is played. This is like, oh, that is so perfect. And its feel, that is the whole solo of the second one. Its feel, it has its flourishes here and there just to give it that bit of excitement, just a little bit of an uplift to it, but overall it's just incredibly felt out, and it's like one of these guitarists that try and do a feel solo. It's going for the emotion, but you don't really get it. This is flowing with emotion. It is so emotional. I feel this solo. Like I can feel the emotion. It's so emotional. It's so sad, dark. You can feel pain. It's just, it feels so heavy and weighty, and the solo, it's so incredible. And because it's melodic and everything, he's not doing anything intense. It's just all of his picking, where he's choosing to fret and pick each note. Every one single note has to work when you slow everything down. Every one note is lingering because it's melodic and slow, so you hear every note very articulate. So each one has to be absolutely perfect and precise, and he's choosing these notes so well, and it's so incredible. And then the tone, the beauty, the flourishes here and there, it's just like, don't overdo it. You don't want him to, and he doesn't, and it's just absolutely amazing. And then from there you're getting more power, more changes and flourishes here and there, some melodic sections and then heavy sections with voice and instruments. And then you've got your third solo, which is a bit more of the heavier upbeat solo, and it sounds great. Not as good as the second one in my opinion. It's just a more kind of upbeat, fun solo. Still quite short. I think the second one was, you know, your main grand great solo. If I was to say my opinion of all three, I think the other two are just these little short things, just to give a bit of good musical development, just show some musical sides, which I really like. You get back to the chorus, the ending of the song starts, just, it all ends melodically. And as I said, like the start of the song, which was melodic and kind of empty, I didn't really appreciate, but the thing is, the mid-section of the song, so somewhere in the middle, it does go to that melodic area again. It's not the same melody and everything, it's just melodic, but of a different kind of melody and tempo and stuff. And I kind of prefer it just because it's kind of, it feels more naturally incorporated into everything. As for off that intensity, it's just like you're not expecting that voice and you're not expecting it to go to that area, so it's really, you know, aggressively shoved in, and it's really unnatural, and it's really weird, just that voice and everything. But with it being in the midsection, you've heard that voice already, you've gotten used to it there, and then it seems more naturally flowed into that part instead of, you know, off the intro, which it just kind of cuts right into it off of this intensity. It's just, it works better in the middle as well as the end. I appreciate it a lot more in them sections than I do that first part. So yeah, as I said, this was my worst track, but now that I've listened to it a lot more, it's got so many layers, it's got great musicianship, it's got 3 great solos, and that second one is absolutely amazing. It has good vocals, it has melody, heavy parts, then it's got the really chuggy, brooding heavy metal stuff, and then it's got flourishes, and then it's got melodic part, acoustic stuff. There is a lot going on and a lot of great stuff. I just think that when the vocal starts in that first verse, I'm not keen on that voice. I would have someone else's. I would have the original singers who's in Are We Soldiers. I think he would have done the melody a lot better than this guy. But as I say, he is a good singer. So I do really like this track, even though every time I start it's a bit daunting and I have to kind of get into the headspace to then start, you know, appreciating the rest of the track, because it starts brilliant, singer comes in, oh dear, and then from there it's just like, okay, I just get used to it. He is good. It's just, it's not one of the things I'm generally into. And then from there I start getting into it because his voice goes into a more natural place for me. And then when he goes back into that section, I just think the flow's a lot better and everything. So yeah, it is a great track. So let's get into the second one, which is To Love a Tyrant. So To Love a Tyrant is actually not really considered by anyone as one of the better tracks on this album. But as for me, I really appreciate this track, To Love a Tyrant, for the main reason that this is the only, repeat that, only heavy track on the album. Consistently, at least. Every other track out of the 8 all has melody. Every single one. To Love a Tyrant is the only one that is pretty much consistently heavy. It's the only one you get. And that is why I really appreciate it, and that is also a problem that I actually have with this overall album. The fact that every single track, every single verse is all melodic. Every one of them. And people said this is amazingly progressive, each song is different to the other. It's just like, every verse is melodic, every single one of them. Which I think is a little repetitive. Maybe get a little dull as well. You know, change it up a little. Be a little exciting. So, To Love a Tyrant, I really like this. It's near enough 8 minutes. It's 7 minutes 55 seconds. So, yeah, pretty much 8 minutes. And, yeah, I really like the track. It is more on the simple side, which is why people probably don't like it, because it's a little simple. It still has its progressive elements, not, you know, full blown out progressive intensity of changings and layering and stuff like that. But it has its intro again to kind of build you up into this kind of heavy dark kind of vibe that actually runs through the song. So you've got this atmospheric sound. You have footsteps walking, and they get louder and louder until eventually they stop. And then the whole band comes in with, you know, the heavy guitars, and the keys actually have this really menacing sound to them. And it flows through the album, especially in the chorus. You can just hear these keys in the background. It's just such a creepy vibe that it's got. And I love the living hell out of it. It's such a great sound that the keys have on the whole thing. It's just what is being played and everything, and the tone of it. It's so creepy. And it's absolutely incredible. I really like it. As for the verse, the singer is always not doing that boy band I'm dressed up in a suit and everything and I'm posh and sophisticated type of singing that is pretty much in every single song. He tries being posh and like his heart's broken all the time. He actually sounds like he has a bit of balls here, and he's a bit of a man instead of a little child. So yeah, voice easy to get into and everything, and you've got some heavy kind of chords going on in that stuff, so not that much in the way of excitement, apart from the little kind of interludes here and there of the guitars. So it gives it, you know, a little bit of excitement at times. And then, as I've mentioned, the chorus is just amazing, just because the way the voice kind of flows with them keys and everything. It's all very creepy. The guitars are mostly just trying to keep things kind of heavy and gain up and stuff, so it's the keys and the voice that kind of has this creepy element going, and the voice just kind of swells through the chorus with the keys, and it just such an incredible vibe and sound. It's just amazing. I really like the sound of it. You have two solos again, so this is a good thing so far. We've had 3 solos on the previous track, all good, especially the second one, and we have 2 solos here, so we're kind of getting always more than one, although this is only the second track, so a bit early to really say. But yeah, this first solo, it's not really a feeler, this one. It's a bit more of you know, your upbeat kind of fun style of solo, a bit of frills and stuff. It's a great solo. Again, I kind of prefer it when he goes around the kind of more feel area. So, kind of getting into the next kind of part where the song changes is kind of after the kind of chorus, after the solo and everything again, and all the heavy stuff, and then it kind of goes into its melodic section where the melodic voice comes back. But again, it's just this one small section, so it's not, you know, overly bad, and I like that it did it, so it's not just all just one heavy track, because that would be quite stale. So I do appreciate actually getting the melody in this section, and it's not overbearing. And the unique thing is the kind of keys and the voice and everything is all melodic, yet the guitars are heavy throughout the whole thing. But because of that, the two contrasts are obviously going to kind of clash with each other, so what they do is they put the guitars in the background, so you can just hear them in the kind of background, just doing all that kind of heavy chugging and stuff. Well, in the foreground and everything, you have the clean voice of the vocalist and the piano, and I kind of like the two contrasts between the clean niceness and the very aggressive in the background thing. I think it's a kind of weird concept, and I don't know, it's just the picture of it, just the kind of clean angelic sound mixed with the dark evil sound, and in the background with the angelic being up front. I just like the two contrasts of that. But after this is where the second solo comes. For some reason the bass goes really thick for some reason, but I do like that it does. So you just have this really thick bass which kind of keeps the rhythm. There's no kind of guitar, it's just the lead, so there's no rhythm guitar, so it's just the bass just with this really thick bass keeping the rhythm going. And this solo is again absolutely incredible. It's so felt out. It's not as felt out as the second solo in the previous track. This one has a quicker pace to it than that, but it is all melodic, and his timing between takes, just his little pauses and everything, so he's not just constantly filling the sound with notes and everything, just always having notes being played. He'll do some really nice sounding stuff, a bit of a break, then go on to the next section just after a split second. And I just like the little breakups and things, just so you can focus on every beautiful element within these small digestible chunks. I really like that. And then you actually have a key solo, which is quite weird because I actually don't think they have a keyboard player. I think it's the guitarist actually, which I don't know how they'll do it live. Because they don't have a keyboardist on this album, but it does reference one person being the keyboardist as well as the lead guitarist. But the other person, you'd say, well, he's obviously the keyboardist, but he's not in the lineup. So it says lineup, and then it's like additional instruments and sounds, and that's where the keys are. So I'm kind of confused about that whole thing. So I can't explain that to you, unfortunately. It's just that's all I've got. The solo is nice and everything, and obviously adds a new flavour, a new contrast and everything off the guitar. He has his part, and then the guitar comes back, and it's a bit a bit more upbeat and aggressive. And yeah, great solo. Lasts ages because you got the really big main solo of that melodic part with its little kind of chunks and good timing between takes, and that itself is one complete solo. So the key thing didn't have to happen because the solo was so long and perfect with just that one guitar, and that's something I don't usually say. I always say a solo should last longer. Why is it so short? And the fact that I'm saying that would have been perfect, there is actually no need of the second key thing. It's quite remarkable because I would never say that. So that explains just how perfect that first part was, and just all these additional stuff just for extra is just amazing. And yeah, the key solo is incredible. The solo that comes after it, brilliant. I love that it's there. It's just so massive and just great musicianship. Everything perfectly executed. It is out of this world. Just amazing. So yeah, I just like the fact that To Love a Tyrant is actually the only heavy track you've got, so it's not just an album of consistently being melodic. So whenever the track plays, I always try and listen and put as much effort into just appreciating the heaviness while I can, while the rest goes along a lot more of a melodic nature. And again, the second solo is just absolutely incredible. And as I said, you get two solos. You had a solo previously, and you got this massive long second solo mixed with keys, and then the guitar back again. It's just absolutely amazing. So I really love this track, and do I prefer it to An Ordinary Dream? I like An Ordinary Dream for other aspects. I say To Love a Tyrant is the more easily digestible song, and overall perfect, as An Ordinary Dream has a lot more on offer and things, more than To Love a Tyrant, but An Ordinary Dream I do have a few problems with, so it's hard to really say. So let's get into the title track of the album, Her Halo. So Her Halo, the title track, is 5 minutes 15 seconds. So because of the time slot, you probably are saying that this is the most simple out of the previous two. As far as layering goes, it is quite simple the way this flows, this song. Off the gates, the song is starting kind of again with actually just one of these weird kind of sound effects until the overall band kicks in to begin. But when they do, actually the singer is starting with them, so you don't really have an intro apart from just that eerie sound. The second the band comes in, it's immediately into the verse. And as I stated in the previous track, it's melodic. All the verses are melodic, apart from To Love a Tyrant. So it's basically just kind of acoustic, kind of clean stuff, and just like piano stuff, and there's not too much there. The voice is a lot more easy to get into than that first track, An Ordinary Dream. That first verse, the way he was singing, was just so unbelievably hard to get accustomed to. But here, it's fine. His voice is completely fine. It's really good. It's just the fact that because it's melodic and it's like just kind of the kind of clean guitars and kind of keys and everything, there's not that much excitement going on. When Dark Water does this with the melodies, there is so much layering that happens, and everything's so perfectly done. Instead of just trying to play something melodic, it's like we're going to play this melodic and have it be beautiful, catchy, and have different layers so everything has these shining moments. Here it's just like the band's just kind of playing melody because that's what the verse is. It's melodic. So it's fine. It's a beautiful enough melody and things. The chorus, there's a lot of repetition of saying Her Halo. I don't think it's repetitive enough to be overly irritating. It's just there's a lot of lingering on them, just singing Her Halo. There is a few more plays with guitar leads kind of before the choruses starts and everything, as well as in other areas. Just give it a bit more of excitement. It's one of these big anthemic choruses as well. It's slightly poppy to me though. Just kind of the way it flows and bounces along and everything. Just a halo, with a lead on the table, and it just comes across a little poppy to me, and sort of bland. Like, it sounds fine and everything. I just don't think there's enough power. The second verse, a lot better than the first verse. It is pretty much exactly the same. It's basically just musically, it's now starting to actually do something exciting. So you actually have some lead clean guitar stuff, and you have lead heavy channel guitar stuff near the end of it. And before the chorus starts, you have a good old guitar interlude before the chorus hits. Even the vocalist, he has more kind of soaring elements throughout this verse. So taking this verse, comparing it to the first one, it makes the first one come across even more bland because of it. Because you can just see how exciting and better this one is, just because it has these subtle little musical elements, just to give a bit more uplifting element to it and a bit more excitement, instead of everything just being wait for the chorus. So the second verse definitely is a lot better, and leading into the chorus, it's just because you've had an enjoyable verse, it makes the chorus a bit more easily digestible, or just a bit more open-minded with it. And then after that, you got a bit of their band play in a different area for the bridge, and there's a nice kind of guitar kind of lead that goes on with the vocalist, and it's really nice. You get into the solo, and it starts slower. It's not overly melodic. It's just these slow kind of holds and melody, and then near the end it just starts building and building and gets a bit more speed and everything, with it having, you know, still a bit of kind of feel and emotion to it. It's not just, you know, mindless speed for the sake of it. It does have feel to it. I wouldn't class it as one of the best so far. It is still a lengthy solo. It still has its feel, its emotion. It's you know, nice soft slow part at the beginning and then your faster part at the end. And it's only the one solo, which is unfortunate that we're not getting always more than one, which seemed kind of like that for the first two songs at least. And that is mostly it for her Halo. There is not really much there. It is the simple song structure this time round for Teramaze's title track, which is quite weird since this is the title track. The fact that you don't really have an intro, it's just a verse, then it's a chorus, a verse, a chorus, bridge, solo, chorus, and that's it. So it's actually a bit more simple than standard because you don't even have an intro. But again, saying that, I like the melody, like that second verse. I really like the vocalist and his more kind of soaring, flowing elements in there. I like the bit of band interludes that will come and be sprinkled in there just to give a bit of excitement. The bridge section, I really like that with the guitar lead and the tone of the voice. And the solo, again, incredible guitarist, so it's a great solo. It's just basically that first verse is a little bland. It would have been good if they put a bit more musicianship and, you know, a bit more flowing vocals in there instead of it just being this one little thing instead of you know, doing the big saws. So it is simple in nature. It's not bad. It has a lot of great elements, a lot of great musicianship, sound, vibe, great vocals. It's just, I think it could have been better. So it's a good track, but I don't think it's overly great, but it is really good. So let's get on to the last track for this part of the review, which is Out of Subconscious. So Out of Subconsciousness is a little longer than her Halo, so this track is 5 minutes 24 seconds, so it's just a few seconds longer. There is a lot more going on for this track though, when you kind of think, well, if it's only a few seconds, it's basically going to be as simple as her Halo. No, in fact there is actually a fair bit more going on with this track. You actually have an intro this time, whole band there starting out. It's a great sounding intro. The guitars are heavy, the keys that are playing through under the rest of everything, it just has this real great like vibe to the overall song, and everything just sounds absolutely perfect. I really like everything. But then you get, as I say, into the verse, and it's melodic, it's predictable because every verse is always melodic. So I don't like the predictability of it. I don't like it that's always the thing instead of changing and doing something new. Saying that though, does that therefore make it bad? No, it doesn't. It's just I don't like the fact that it's always the same like that. But the verse is fine. His melodic voice here again, it's a little not what I would personally like, but it's again not anywhere near as bad as what the first song was with that first verse. So it's a fine melodic singing style for the verse. You actually have a bit more interesting stuff going on. You have guitars and your drums and the keys and everything, and it's just been a little bit more interesting. It's not really doing anything with like your little interludes, little trills here and there. Everything's just basically playing along until it gets to its chorus. It's the pre-chorus which actually starts getting quite exciting, because the singer actually kind of bursts out into kind of high notes, and then the guitar starts going into a fast shreddish tempo. Halfway through his you know, high pitch singing, and then it starts just playing into the chorus, this really fast guitar play. And then when the chorus happens, the singer is actually singing in a fairly high tone. It's probably the highest of all the tracks that he's singing here. I don't think he does anything this high in the previous ones, if I'm not mistaken. So he's incredibly high, and then the whole band playing, it sounds energetic because of the power of the voice, and then the whole band is there supporting, and then the vibe with the keys and the vibe that is running through, everything just sounds great with great energy, and I like it. And then you get back into the verse, and again everything does kind of slow down and things, but I do like the contrast between heavy and soft, just to vary it up so it's not just one consistent thing. And does the pre-chorus again, you know, that kind of real high note and everything, and then just a real speedy interlude of the guitar, getting back into the chorus. After the chorus, we get a bit of heavy music with you know, heavy guitar chugs, and you got the vocalist there singing. You get into what I actually mistook as just an interlude with the guitar leading into another section, but it's actually the solo. So I didn't actually consider it as the solo, so it's not really anywhere near as special as anything that's came before. It's quite weird actually that this is the solo, because it's a little short for what he's kind of done. It's still relatively long, and it just kind of starts just with just the repeated kind of phrase, and then just goes shredding, and then it kind of leads into the next part of the song, which is why I kind of thought it was just an interlude, just to bridge a section and be more exciting than just guitar chugs that lead into something. But no, I actually think it is a solo, so it's a little weird, not really anything thought-provoking and imaginative. It is just a good shred thing, and other than that, not much to it. And the next section, you actually kind of have single kind of like piano key notes and everything, and heavy guitar chugging, and then the kind of high vocalist and everything. And then when the high vocalist goes away, it's, you know, just all heavy instruments, and then goes into the kind of chorus again, which is just full of energy and power, and it's an amazing chorus. Under the chorus, you do get, I guess, a second solo, because there's some kind of shred going on under his voice and stuff, and then you've got the voice ending, and then the guitar's still kind of going. But again, it's nothing that seems like it would be a solo of, you know, massive variation, great feel, great show of musicianship. It just seems like a guitar that's just trying to do some kind of fun stuff to bridge sections. So it's just making the chorus a bit more, you know, energetic, a bit more fun, more musical, with, you know, the musical guitar stuff going on. And then after that, it just seems to just try to end the song, just do something interesting before the end hits. So yeah, it does add just more energy, more power because of it. And then the ending, it's not just abruptly ending, it's not just ending on power chords and stuff. It is this you know, high energy metal shred stuff and things that goes to the end of the track. So it's got a lot of energy to it. So obviously, as I say, the first and second verse, again, it's the typical melodic thing, which I personally feel there is an abundance of on the album. I would like it if they could have at least tried to do something a bit more with it. And if they wanted it to all be melodic like that, and that's what everyone loves, then I would have at least said add a bit more instrumentation, just to give a bit more excitement and fun, instead of that just basically just being, well, this is just going to be melodic, and then it's the build up because we are progressive and that's how it's done. I just think that's a little lazy and just a bit shallow-minded, really, just to say, well, let's just be melodic and then build, because that is progressive. It starts melodic and then you progress it further until it builds into its peak, and that's every track, because that is progressive. I think that's just a little silly. But yeah, it's a great track. Like, it would have been better if the solos, because technically there's two of them, it would be better if that you actually kind of saw them as solos instead of something a little hidden of just like trill playing just to bridge gaps, because that's what it comes across as, and you don't actually notice them as solos. So it would have been a bit better if there was a bit more focus and, you know, thought put into them. I just find it so weird just because all the solos have been absolutely incredible. It's just a little odd. But yeah, the chorus is so energy heavy, it sounds great. And then obviously the other heavy stuff sounds great as well. The stuff after the second chorus, then after the first solo, all that heavy energy, the vibe with the keys that I kind of run through the album to give it its overall unique vibe, all sounds great. So great track, just a little unfortunate, as I say, about the verses kind of always being the same as all the others, just a different kind of sound and tempo, but overall there's not much difference. And then obviously the solo, as far as the solos go, they are both good. As I say, it's just when you compare them to the others, I think everyone must agree it's just not as good. It's not as big, it's not as thought-provoking and has as much emotion put in it. It's just energy for the sake of energy, which is why it is high energy. So yeah, I like the high energy, it's just I just think there could have been a bit more to it. But yeah, it's a great track. So that does it for part 1. I hope you all join me in part 2.